Putting aside the evil of forcing those who did not sin to pay those who have not been sinned against, race reparations do not work to fix the wealth gap. We've spent $25 trillion in a war on poverty designed in a large measure to redress past racial evils. And here's the result. And here's the result here. This graph that my white supremacist think tank cooked up for me on Microsoft Excel. Now, I've just destroyed every black person's argument, and we can go about our day with my overly subscribed YouTube channel and just talk about nonsense. And I'll try to lip sync WAP again, and maybe I'll go platinum this time.
I want to thank you for joining us today, Ben. Like, it was great having you on.
How you doing, Tony? Thank you.
Yeah, big homie Ben. And we'll get you on the show next time, Ben. I appreciate you being on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
But going back to reparations though, big homie Shapiro.
Shapiro. You're talking about
Ben Shapiro.
I'm already on 1.5, so there's no need for you to speed up the camera. And we're going to talk about this real quick. Yeah, you're talking about Ben Shapiro. I mean, I just don't understand why would black people get reparations? First of all, it's a racist policy. Like, really?
Yeah, basically what he was saying.
I could actually see him being Robin. Like, if somebody else was Batman, like Matt Walsh is Batman, like Ben Shapiro would be Robin. He would be Boy Blunder. Like, Joker would be like, ha ha, here you come again, Boy Blunder. You know what I'm saying? Ben Shapiro would be like, me and Batman are gonna take you down, Joker. Like,
but here's what the big homie Ben Shapiro, big homie Shapiro had to say, right? You
gotta read it in his voice.
I can't do it. I'll let you do it. You read it in his voice. Yeah,
man, I can't see. You gotta make it bigger.
You got it.
Putting aside the evil of forcing those who did not sin to pay those who have not been sinned against, race reparations do not work to fix the wealth gap. We've spent $25 trillion in a war on poverty designed in a large measure to redress past racial evils. And here's the result. And here's the result here. This graph that my white supremacist think tank cooked up for me on Microsoft Excel. Now, I've just destroyed every black person's argument, and we can go about our day with my overly subscribed YouTube channel and just talk about nonsense. And I'll try to lip sync WAP again, and maybe I'll go platinum this time.
I want to thank you for joining us today, Ben. Like, it was great having you on.
How you doing, Tony? Thank you.
Yeah, big homie Ben. And we'll get you on the show next time, Ben. I appreciate you being on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, man. That was big homie Shapiro, man. I was happy to have big homie Shapiro on just now, man. That was great that he stopped by, man. That was amazing that he came by, and just expressed how he feels about reparations. This argument that he put up was not only factually incorrect, it's just an outright lie, and I just find it so funny how scared, and how threatened folks like big homie Shapiro get at the thought of reparations. Like, money goes out the wazoo everywhere for all other groups, for all other type of side projects and initiatives. I think it was recently, it was like another, like something like an audit was done and like $2 trillion like came up missing, something stupid like that. It was some like absurd amount of money, $2 trillion that just like they just don't know what happened to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't know. It's unaccounted for. So money like gets tossed around by this government like crazy all the time. And for the most part, nobody really cares.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares. When you bring certain things up, they'll pretend like they care, but they don't really care. But the moment you start talking about anything that may possibly benefit Black Americans, particularly in this case, reparations, descendants of American slavery, now all of a sudden, it's a big deal. It's something crazy. Oh my God, the world's going to end. And you start getting, and especially somebody like big homie Shapiro, whose tagline is what? Like facts over feelings. His facts are all the way off on this. Shout out to JD Informant again with another super chat. JD Informant said war on poverty wasn't a racial issue. And that's exactly what I wanted to get into right now. But before I even get into that, I just had to read JD. Jay, you ain't ish, dude. This is his pass of he said breaking. FDMG is relocating to San Francisco. Jay, you ain't ish. FDMG is relocated to San Francisco. Cuban Scam 3, our artist, just filed for his reparations and preach that we are too ill-minded for ours. You know,
Facts.
so Cuban scammer, you know, he applied for his, but we're too ill-minded for ours. So shout
That's
out for that.
hilarious.
I had to
He
read
said
that one up.
Cuban. He said Cuban scammer. That's funny. Which one are you talking about? Phase on Love? No, I'm just playing.
No, Cuban.
No, I know who you're talking.
You know what you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Cuban,
who you're talking
yeah, Cuban scam artist just out for his reparations and
Oh,
preached
man.
that we are all too ill-minded for ours. But
Right.
the Cuban scam artist got his after he relocated to school to San Francisco. You know,
Yeah, he was preaching that we was too ill-minded. Y'all are too ill-minded to properly use your reparations. I said you're too ill-minded.
One more time.
Properly use your reparations. I said you are too ill-minded to properly use your reparations.
Oh man! If you don't say it 3 times, it ain't real.
all 3 of y'all.
All 3 of y'all. Oh man! But let's get back to this lie presented by Ben Shapiro. You know, and it's very interesting because, like, okay, so anyway, there's this Wikipedia article that I want to go through, right? And to be honest with you, I'm not even about to do all this reading, you know, but I want to highlight this one specific part in the Wikipedia article, right? This war on poverty literally had nothing to do with race.
No,
it had nothing to do with race and everything to do with simply just poverty, right? And we still have like programs and institutions to this day that existed because of it, like the Job Corps, Head Start. There's this thing called Volunteers in Service to America, Vista. I'm not sure what that is. And then there's another thing here called TRIO. I'm not sure what TRIO is, but these are programs that are still in existence today, right? Give me just a second. This dog is killing me.
I think it was my Ben Shapiro impression. It was at such a high pitch. It set that dog off over there.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. But anyways, war on poverty had nothing to do, absolutely nothing at all to do with race, you know. But once again, like I am gonna read this part. When you see,
well, neither do reparations. Reparations have to do with people who were damaged as a result of slavery. It's not our fault that they decided to practice their cultural value of anti-black racism and restrict those things like chattel slavery and Jim Crow to a specific group of people. That's not our fault. But those are the damages. You see, if you let them tell it, what they're doing is paying money for you being black. No, what you're doing is paying for what you did to a group of people. It's not our fault that you chose to do those things to a group of people based on the fact that they're black. Again, this is a perfect example of them attempting to skirt accountability for their culture. You know what I'm saying?
And it's also, once again, it's not about black people either. It's about a very specific group
of black people.
Group of black people
here in the United States
that carry a very specific lineage, right? Because as a Haitian American, I do not qualify for reparations. So it's not for black people. It's not for black, it's for a specific, very specific lineage group.
Right. Who were harmed by those ills that took place at a certain point in time here in the United States.
But let's just take a look at how, like, you know, folks like Ben, you get what I'm saying? Let's take a look at how folks like Ben, like, they just literally make stuff up at the thought of anything that may benefit black Americans. If something comes across, some type of program that comes across that they assume, forget about reparations, because I want to focus on the war on poverty, because this is an actual thing with folks like Ben that you're going to read here, that I'm going to read to you here, where they project this nonsense that this is going to help black people, so we got to stop it, when in fact it's for everybody. Like, check this out. All right, let me make this bigger. Okay, so many observers point out that the war on poverty's attention to black America created the grounds for the backlash that began in the 1970s. Okay, now who are the observers? Okay, the perception by the white middle class, the perception, one more time, Umar Johnson, the perception by the white middle class is that it was footing the bill for ever increasing services to the poor led to footing the bill for every increasing services to the poor lead to diminished support for welfare state programs, especially those that targeted specific groups and neighborhoods. Many whites viewed Great Society programs as supporting the economic and social needs of low-income urban minorities. They lost sympathy, especially as the economy declined in the 1970s, right? So all this is their perception, white middle class perception, that this is helping urban minorities and this is helping Black Americans, made them be against it, despite the fact that this is literally open for everyone that's poor, especially poor whites, which there are a lot of. Let me keep reading. The fallout and backlash from the war on poverty gave way to what Karen Gustafson, however you say the name, called the criminalization of poverty. As white middle class Americans became more disgruntled about the quote government handouts that Black low-income communities were receiving, policymakers and legislators took action to respond to their concerns. This led to more substantial restrictions on welfare and the policing of recipients of government assistance. The resentment that middle class Americans, white Americans, harbored against communities on welfare translated into anti-welfare fraud policies that disproportionately targeted, one more time, Umar, disproportionately targeted low-income Black communities and failed at responding to the most egregious forms of fraud. So you had the most egregious forms of fraud going on that were most likely by white Americans, right? That were going completely unnoticed because they were focused on disproportionately targeting Black communities. And they were doing this based off the lie and the perception by the white middle class that you can see here, that these services are geared towards Black Americans. Now, this is all despite the actual fact that this is a program for everybody. It's literally for everybody. I've never heard of any poor white person who couldn't get on welfare and couldn't get his food stamps up. He couldn't, he couldn't take advantage of
I've
the
heard of
Job
them
Corps.
getting the most.
Yeah, they couldn't take advantage of the Job Corps. They couldn't take advantage of Head Start. I've never heard of any of this before. Anybody can use it, but because it appears that it may help Black Americans and it appears that it could help them the most, oh well, now it's automatically a bad thing, right? And that's what's wild. And I don't want to lose sight of what they said at the end. The fake fear, right? This nonsensical fear, this nonsensical thought that the war on poverty is going to help Black folks too much, and that's why we're so against it, even though it's for everybody, led to the creation of another law enforcement wing, right? That it said that was targeting basically fraud concerning these programs, right? And it disproportionately targeted Blacks, while it's put to the side others, like more egregious fraud that was happening, right? And this is something, shout out to Torian Rain, who's been in here the whole time, that Torian Rain speaks about on his channel, right? Because
shout out to Brett Favre for being living proof.
Shout out to Brett Favre for being living proof, because Torian's been on that. But Torian also spoke on a story of, I think it was like some white folks or Asian folks that had like $5-10 million in PPP loan fraud, right? Now, when you hear about PPP loan fraud, oh, they love front page putting some ticky-tack PPP loan fraud that was done by, a Black guy who got like $500. You know what I'm saying? Extra $500. Okay, an extra $1,500, maybe $2,000. Okay, shouldn't have done it. All right, $2,000. But we'll completely negate and ignore the white and Asian PPP loan frauds of $5 and $10 million.
Right.
The white and Asian PPP loan frauds of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Torian Rain covers this kind of stuff. These folks are over here stealing millions of dollars in PPP loans, but you'll never hear about it. But let me get caught up with I took a little $300. Oh, I'm front page news.
All of these are strategies. All of these are strategies. It's distraction strategies. It's the same reason why you show a black person on TV for crimes, but you just write a little tiny article about the millions of, PC people that delete themselves and their families every day. Like, these people literally are out here deleting their entire families. And there's a story for every convenience store robbery, for every gang fight. There's a PC family that got deleted by the husband. Every day, literally every day. You can look in local news in Illinois. You can look in local news in Ohio. You can look in local news in Iowa. You can look in local news in Oklahoma. Anywhere. This is something that happens probably at a rate higher than the crimes that they try to put on us.